Hey, what's up? I found a new place to be for the meanwhile, because I figured everybody was probably getting tired of me being in the same place all the time. I guess something that I want to talk about, and something that I've been thinking about because one of my friends said, is suicide your fault? Like, if you kill yourself, is that your fault? So one person basically said, like, apparently someone he knew killed himself, and he's talking about, like, oh, well, that person was selfish. They shouldn't have done that. Think of what they took away from everybody else. It seems like that's the mentality that a lot of people have. Like, this is your fault. Why did you do this? Why did you hurt everybody else? And obviously it does hurt other people. I just wonder, like, how much culpability there is for the person who does it. Like, for example, like, let's say that there's something wrong with your heart. Like, you get a heart attack or stroke or something like that. Nobody says, like, oh, your heart stopped working. Your heart wasn't working right. How dare you leave us when you die? Let's say there's something wrong with your liver. Like, you get some sort of liver disease. I was like, oh, your liver. How dare you do that? You left us. Yeah. Stuff like that. If there's something wrong with your brain, like your brain isn't working right, and you end up killing yourself because you can't function properly, then why are people like, oh, well, your brain wasn't working right. How dare you? Why does that work like that? I don't think it should work like that. I guess a lot of people seem to think in those manners, though. It reminds me of this one discussion I was in with someone on the topic of free will. Like, do we have it or not really? Basically, there's two views. Either, and there's probably some gray area or whatever, but the view is either we are free, like we own everything about our actions, or we don't really own everything about our actions. Our actions are the result of everything around us, like everything is a process. If things were different in our lives, then maybe we would have done something different, but in those circumstances, it's kind of beyond our control. In that example, it reminds me of this one documentary I saw where basically years ago there was this like 6-year-old kid who shot another 6-year-old girl in the head. Everybody was like, oh, well, what a horrible kid. A lot of people wanted him killed, like, death sentence. But when the people in the documentary looked at it closer, it was because his mom was working like 2 jobs for minimum wage, like 70 hours a week. She was a single mom, and she couldn't pay the bills. Things were horrible. Like, they didn't have enough food to eat. And, like, I guess it just messed with the kid's head, and he eventually just popped. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, that horrible kid. Well, if you were in that situation, what would you do? Really, what would you do? Another example like that, it's sort of different, is, I guess the idea of the Westboro Baptist Church, those guys with the signs like, we're gonna do stuff. They're so cool, yeah. A lot of people hate them, and obviously they're bad. They're really bad, but is it really fair to hate them? I mean, think about it. Let's say that you were raised in the Westboro Baptist Church. Let's say you were raised by the Phelps family. I think that's the people who are in charge of it. And you were told from birth that this is the way things work. How likely do you think you would be this person that you are today? Do you think you would really be the same person, like the same type of human being who can empathize with people in that manner? Or do you think you would also follow their doctrine? Don't you think it's funny that the people who are like that are all the people who are raised in that manner? You never see people who are raised to love and understand, and they're like, oh no, I'm going to join the Westboro Baptist Church. It's about your upbringing, really. That's the way I see it. It's things that are beyond your control. It's about the environment that you're in. Plus, a lot of it is just about you in general. Like, if there's something wrong with you, like if you just have a tendency to get depressed, maybe you'll be more likely to kill yourself. And, sometimes there's deep reasons why you get depressed. Sometimes there aren't. Sometimes you just have days where you feel sad. I don't know, there's too much to it. I mean, not to say that we don't have free will in particular, but to say that we own all our actions and anything wrong that you do is totally your fault. I just find that to be totally unfair. It does suck when someone kills themselves, but to blame them, I think that's just a disgrace to their memory. I think that it's more about, this person, left us for some reason. Let's try to figure out what happened. and maybe we can prevent more of our friends from doing this in the future, so that we can make a better life. So I don't know, that's just my thoughts on it. What do you think? Do you think we have total control over our actions, or do you think that we have no control, or do you think it's some sort of midpoint? Yeah, thanks for listening.